arriving at homicide scenes, handling child abuse cases. As they confront these situations, they need some help. We need to help them recover from the invisible wounds that their work can inflict.
President Biden signed not one, not two, but 3 bills today that will provide additional resources for law enforcement. Biden said the bills were bipartisan efforts that will accelerate benefits for first responders injured in the line of duty, provide mental health services for officers, and prosecute suspects who attack federal officers in U.S. courts, regardless of where the attack took place. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice announced a $139 million grant program to aid local law enforcement agencies in recruiting new officers. The program will provide direct funding to 183 law enforcement agencies to hire over 1,000 officers nationwide and fulfill their agency's needs. The resources and direct funding being granted to law enforcement come as Democrats attempt to distance themselves from the Defund the Police narrative, which Republicans have used to hammer Democrats as radical and soft on crime. The irony of the situation is that the Biden administration has jump-started 4 initiatives to aid law enforcement in one day. At the same time, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act is still stuck in purgatory. Also, this is a kind of a deja vu moment as the president is playing this role now, harkens back to the 1990s when Republicans were also chastising Democrats for being soft on crime. And that situation helped Biden to write the 1994 crime bill. Joining us to discuss is Director of Social Policy in Advocacy for the Black Public Defenders Association, Keisha Robinson. Ms. Robinson, just tell me your first impression of the president and the DOJ providing this aid now, both rhetorical and actual real aid in terms of bills and also funding for more officers, coming off of an election cycle where they believe that defund the police hurt them and that they are fighting back against a Republican Party that seems to want to use the idea of defund the police against Democrats going into the midterms.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, my first response was the definition of insanity. When one continues to do the same thing over and over and expect a different result. What we know is that investment in community-based solutions and policies is not more investment in the police. There have been 400 years of Black suffering at the hands of policies such as today's recent announcement. And we need to be dismantling those policies and going in the opposite direction. And so that was my first response, that we're continuing to lead to the increase of over 800% in our prison population.
What do we say to the people in Black communities that also feel some pressure around crime increasing in their areas, who also are just stuck between a rock and a hard place? They do not like police misconduct, but they also feel like they don't have another resource other than the police to help them to try to get a handle on violence in their communities. How do you think the president should deal with that pressure? Put aside the fact that Republicans are using this as a political football. Put aside the fact that Democratic operatives are basically hammering defund the police. What about the Black people who are stuck in the middle?
It's truly the Black who continue to suffer, as they're essentially used as a volley for political priorities. And there's been a pivot, unfortunately, as a result of the labeling of defunding the police. It's really not about the labels, it's about the people who are suffering, the harm that is happening to Black communities. And for Black communities that want to be safer, what they've made clear that they want, and more importantly, what they need, is a public health approach to community safety. Because what we know is that most of the problems, the drivers of incarceration, are actually behavioral challenges and substance abuse. And all of the studies indicate that the best response to that is a public health approach. And so, what I would have loved to have seen as much investment in that, and that did not happen, unfortunately, with today's announcement.
So you and I know how this is going to work, right? So the federal government, DOJ, will give some money to help the local municipalities to hire these officers, but they're not going to fund these officers until they retire. That burden will now fall to the local municipalities. They'll raise taxes, whatever they need to do to pay to keep those officers on the budget. And those officers will likely stay in the field regardless of whether crime falls or goes up or goes down. And if it goes down, they'll turn those officers away from large crimes down to petty crimes and push down to kind of quality of life crimes. And that is where a lot of black people end up getting caught up. They police your community for quality of life, and then they'll let other people walk on the sidewalk or ride their bikes to the middle of the street and say nothing. How do we get out of that cycle and get black people in community to see that just because they're sending in help now, that help can be turned around and used against you as a form of harm?
I'll be honest. I think black people see it. We are crystal clear, and we see it more than ever. I think the label of public safety is a misnomer. It's no different than the label of the war on drugs. It's no different than justifying slavery based on Christianity. We know that these things aren't true. We know that we're in fact not safer. Safe for whom? We are being harmed. We are being targeted. We are being surveilled. We are being incarcerated. And we're essentially wearing a scarlet letter for the rest of our life because of the over 44,000 collateral consequences that are attached to being over-policed and over-incarcerated in our communities. We're clear about this. We're not advancing these arguments or these narratives. This is a political narrative to advance various agendas.
I think you make a really, really important point, which is the hijacking of language. And Republicans have done this pretty much around every issue, whether it be sanctuary cities or entitlements, is what they keep calling the provisions of these Build Back Better bills, or around the idea of critical race theory, or the co-opting of woke, or the co-opting of the idea of defund the police. How do you fight back when people are basically stealing the language, stripping it of its meaning, imbuing it with a completely other meaning that is detrimental to the very cause that the phrase were meant to help in the first place? If that is the way we're dealing with language, how do you fight an abusive language?
That's a great question. I often say, put people on notice. And be crystal clear about where we stand. And there are many organizations, specifically the Black Public Defender Service. We issued a report to the Biden-Harris administration outlining in detail the recommendations that would make a difference. And a part of that is language. And so we have to speak the truth and speak the truth to power and let people know what we need. We've made that clear. We want a community-oriented response. We want a health response. We want our children to stop being incarcerated. We want to stop being incarcerated for technical violations. We want to stop being over-surveilled, over-policed. We're asking for exactly the opposite of what you're giving us. So at the very least, we can all be crystal clear on what we asked for, notwithstanding what you decided to give us anyway.
I have one more last question here, but I'm just going to go back to this funding issue because I think it is critical and central to our discussion here. When the federal government gives this money out, they basically allowing local municipalities to hire more officers over which they will have no control whatsoever. The federal government will have no control over these officers on the local level. They can't police them. They can't offer guidelines. They can't do anything. They're just giving the money. How does that leave them this program open to abuse?
Mr. Blow, I'm going to be honest. We know that the criminal punishment and the criminal legal system replaced slavery as an economic driver in this country. That is the bottom line. There are entire essential company towns built on the backs of Black people through prisons, through police forces, through all of the supporting agencies that support the criminal legal system. people have economic incentive to get this funding, to get this money in the name of public safety. But if we're really being honest as a country, this money is lining the pockets of people's salaries, they're supporting their families, and they're giving them a lifelong pension, as you mentioned. And that's honest. And the people who pay the real price for that are Black and brown people in this country.
Keisha Robinson, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Very illuminating conversation.